female serial killers. I figured it's Halloween, so we're gonna watch this. 10 female serial killers never heard of. I saw it on my recommended, but it looks cool.
The real Eileen Warren's not a serial killer. I was so lost that I turned into one.
When you think of female serial killers, the endlessly serialized Eileen Wuornos probably comes to mind. In fact, a new Netflix documentary about her life just released. But countless other notorious women have committed equally heinous crimes with far less coverage. Welcome to Ms. Mojo, and today we're discussing lesser-known female...
Wait. What did you say, Ms. Mojo?
Today we're discussing equally heinous crimes with far less coverage. Welcome to Ms. Mojo, and today we're discussing lesser-known female serial killers whose stories will haunt you.
The judge called her a monster that no one sees coming as he sentenced her to life in prison on all 7 counts consecutively.
Nah, I doubt it. Oh my god, she looks like a school teacher. You know the school teachers are like back in the day? Like Miss Matilda. Like the teacher from Miss Transport, I think she was. She looks like her, like a tiny bit. Oops, like tiny bit. Like. But yeah, there's no way. There's no way she's a serial killer. I don't know.
Leonarda Cianciulli, aka the soap maker of Correggio. From 1939 to 1940, the Italian village of Correggio lost 3 residents to serial killer Leonarda Cianciulli. The popular shop owner believed that in order to keep her son safe while he served in the Royal Italian Army during World War II, she needed to make human sacrifices.
Sandra starà lontana da qua e Michele farà dei buoni esami. Cosa credi che siano le ossa in fondo?
Her first victim, Faustina Setti, was someone she advised about finding a husband. She lured in her second and third victims, Francesca Soavi and Virginia Cacioppo, by claiming she was helping them find jobs.
Se che facessi al posto tuo, cambierei aria. Ti ricordi quella volta che ti ho fatto andare sul lago? Sei diventato un fiore.
Sì, ma sono tornata sola.
Quella è stata colpa tua.
All 3 women consumed
From now on, my skip and boob scenes are getting copyrighted. So, if the boob scenes, I might take the boob scenes out.
a substance-laced drink and were killed with an axe. Cianciulli confessed to using their remains to make soap and tea cakes, which she shared with neighbors and family. Cianciulli was given a 30-year prison sentence with 3 years in a criminal asylum.
30 years for killing 3 people? What's that like? Like 10 years per person?
To using their remains to make soap and tea cakes, which she shared with neighbors and family. Cianciulli was given a 30-year prison sentence with 3 years in a criminal asylum.
That's 3 life sentences for killing 3 people.
Ti uccideranno. Vi uccideranno tutti.
Dana Sue Gray. Between February and March 1994, former nurse Dana Sue Gray took the lives of 3 elderly women in California and went on shopping sprees with their money, beginning with Norma Davis on February 14th.
She appeared to just be sitting in her chair as if she were perhaps reading or watching TV. It didn't appear that she had made much of a struggle or had attempted to get up from that chair.
Police officers discovered her body 2 days later, and on February 28th, they found June Roberts deceased. Both were strangled in their Canyon Lake homes, a gated residence where Gray owned a house. On March 10th, Gray attacked Dorinda Hawkins at an area antique shop. Fortunately, Hawkins survived and provided authorities with crucial details.
She told investigators that a blonde woman came into her antique shop to ask about framing. When she led the customer into the back to show her some samples, the woman suddenly attacked her from behind.
Police apprehended Gray on March 17th, unaware that she'd already killed another victim, Dora Beebe, just hours before. Gray pleaded guilty in 1998 and was sentenced to life with no possibility of parole.
When I think of Dana Sue Gray, the first thing that comes to mind, for me anyway, is evil. It's just evil.
Velma Barfield. In 1949, North Carolina native Margie Velma Bullard left her troubled home life to wed Thomas Burke, with whom she had 2 children. After he died in a house fire in April 1969, the widow married Jennings Barfield in 1970, barely a year before he died in March 1971.
No one pays very much attention. He had been ill for a long time. It was obviously natural causes, and Velma is just now a widow. In fact, now twice widowed.
Using arsenic and rat poison, Velma murdered 2 elderly patients in her care, Dolly Edwards and John Henry Lee, in 1977.
Barfield preys on the weak and the old and the innocent, and this tells me that she is a predator. She looks out for people's vulnerabilities and she exploits them.
Despite confessing to killing Edwards and Lee in 1977 and her mother in 1974, she was only charged with the 1978 murder of her boyfriend, Roland Stewart Taylor. At age 52, Velma Barfield, by then dubbed the Death Row Granny, died by lethal injection in 1984.
Today, if it were possible, I wish that I could take every bit of hurt on myself.
Enriqueta Martí, aka the vampire, then dubbed the Death Row Granny, died by lethal injection in 1984.
Today, if it were possible, I wish that I could take every bit of hurt on myself.
Enriqueta Martí, aka the Vampire of Barcelona. For over 20 years, Barcelona, Spain had a prolific serial killer claiming the lives of at least 12 youths, though more are suspected. Enriqueta Martí worked as a nanny and witch doctor and owned a brothel catering to wealthy clients. She lured and kidnapped young victims, forcing them into sex work, and using their remains to create remedies for incurable diseases and elixirs to extend one's life. And owned a brothel catering to wealthy clients. She lured and kidnapped young victims, forcing them into sex work, and using their remains to create remedies for incurable diseases and elixirs to extend one's life. Martí's reign of terror ended in February 1912, after she abducted Teresita Guitart Congost, and a neighbor alerted police. After her arrest, they discovered blood-stained clothing and human remains on her various properties. In May 1913, Martí was killed by other inmates at the Reina Amalia prison. She never went to trial for her crimes.
Llegeixi i sabrà qui és de veritat l'Enriqueta Martí.
La vampira de Barcelona.
Vicki Dawn Jackson. In a span of 3 months, from December 2000 to February 2001, Nocona General Hospital in Texas had an alarming number of elderly patients die under its care.
They and their staff are there to help people, and the idea that they would have somebody in their ranks killing somebody, I think, was the very last thing they thought of.
At the same time, administrators noted several missing vials of the paralytic Mivacron. During their investigation into over 20 deaths, authorities soon zeroed in on Vicki Dawn Jackson because she was often the last nurse reported to be in the victims' rooms.
They were my husband's patients.
All of them?
All of them.
When police searched her home, they found a discarded syringe in her trash, which was positive for Mivacron. Facing 10 capital murder charges, Jackson entered a plea of no contest and was sentenced to life. Facing 10 capital murder charges, Jackson entered a plea of no contest and was sentenced to life in prison.
Things may have turned out very differently for Vicki had she maintained a therapeutic relationship with the healthcare provider and taken medication.
Jeanne Weber, aka the Ogress of Goutte d'Or. In 1906, French serial killer Jeanne Weber, who earned the nickname of the Ogress of Goutte d'Or, was accused of the murders of 8 children, including 3 of her own, and several nieces and nephews.
But because she was so influential, because she was rubbing elbows with all the upper echelon, she was given a mere slap on the wrist, a mere $300 fine.
Despite visible bruising on their necks,
that is a slap on the wrist. Good lord. Wait.
own, and several nieces and nephews.
But because she was so influential, because she was rubbing elbows with all the upper echelon, she was given a mere slap on the wrist, a mere $300 fine.
Despite visible bruising on their necks, medical professionals attributed the deaths to natural causes.
Oh yes, we're gonna put 2 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 6 all together, and then we're just gonna put it in natural.
He was ultimately acquitted of these crimes. Just a year later, Weber, using a different name, was apprehended and released again after another youth perished under her care. In October 1908, she claimed her 10th and final victim, the son of an innkeeper.
One thing, more than anything else, made her secret slayings possible. Power.
Months later, Weber was declared insane. She lived out the rest of her days in a
I don't think it's into the credit. Look at those eyes, bro. There is nothing behind those eyes.
Months later, Weber was declared insane. She lived out the rest of her days in a psychiatric hospital until passing away in 1918. Daria Nikolaevna Saltykova, aka the Saltychicha. Often compared to Hungary's notorious blood countess Erzsébet Báthory, Daria Nikolaevna Saltykova was suspected of committing up to 138 murders. The Russian noblewoman regularly subjected her predominantly female servants to physical abuse, which ended in their demise.
And that would still make her one of the most prolific serial killers in the history of the world.
After years of getting away with murder, Saltykova was finally arrested in 1762 and later convicted of killing 38 serfs. Her many accomplices were also punished. Under the rule of Empress Catherine II, aka Catherine the Great, Saltykova was publicly humiliated in 1768. She was sent to serve her life sentence in Moscow's Ivanovsky convent until she died in 1801.
Those stories tell us who we are as people and what our dark side is.
Rita Mays. In July 2017, U.S. Army veteran Rita Mays began working as a nursing assistant on Ward 3A of the Lewis A. Johnson Veterans Medical Center in West Virginia. From then until June 2018, over 100 patients died, many suffering a sudden hypoglycemic event beforehand.
Some of the medical doctors found it unusual, first of all, that there were multiple non-diabetic patients that were dying of these severely low blood sugars.
Mays injected lethal doses of insulin, most of whom were not diabetic. Mays was fired in June 2018, but wasn't apprehended until July 2020. While there was a large number of deceased patients, she was only charged with 7 murders.
Although we did not get the verbal answers and the confessions that we were looking for, just to be able to tap into the mindset of Rita was just as important.
She pleaded guilty to all counts of second-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. In 2021, Mays received 7 consecutive life sentences with an additional 20 years.
We heard from the VA's Inspector General, who says that medical center committed serious failures that allowed the killings to go on undetected.
Helen Patricia Moore. In 1978, Helen Patricia Moore lost her younger half-brother Andrew to sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS. 2 months later, the Australian babysitter was watching her little cousin Suzanne when she too died from the disease.
In the face of a second crib death, the stoic teenager impresses family and friends by doing the unexpected.
While on another babysitting job, Moore attempted to kill a boy named Aaron, who survived but was left maimed and died later. In 1980, her mother, Jessie, discovered her son Peter was unresponsive. Moore then confessed to killing her young stepbrother.
Helen repeatedly smothered these children to death, or attempted to. It made her feel good. It made her feel powerful. That's why she did it.
The juvenile offender was charged with the murders of Suzanne, Aaron, and Peter, and 2 attempted murders, earning her 3 life sentences plus 10 more years. However, Moore only spent 13 years behind bars before she was released in 1993.
13 years? For those eyes alone?
However, Moore only spent 13 years behind bars before she was released in 1993.
Helen.
That's the length of this video. 13 minutes. But I don't get why people have such low sentences for killing human beings.
Moore gave birth to her own daughter. The court had no choice but to place her under 24-hour surveillance with a baby for the next 10 years.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and Lydia Sherman, aka the Derby Poisoner, murdered several victims using arsenic, beginning in 1864 with her first husband, Edward Struck.
Edward Struck probably suffered more than Jack the Ripper's victims.
That year, the nurse also poisoned 3 of their 6 children. And in 1865, the remaining 3 met the same fate. In 1868, she married her second husband, Dennis Hurlburt, and killed him the same way shortly after. 2 years later, she wed Horatio Sherman, who died from arsenic poisoning about a year after tying the knot.
One of the most frightening aspects of these psychopathic killers is the extent to which they can simulate normal human reactions and behavior.
Lydia Sherman was finally caught in 1871 and sentenced to life in prison for second-degree murder. While she only admitted to the murders of her 3 husbands and 4 of her children, some believe she killed close to 11 people.
The Queen of Poison introduces the world to the horrific concept of the female serial killer.
Which of these surprised you the most? Let us know in the
Crazy. Alright, well that's that. I had no idea there was that many. Even I was scared of that shit. Alright, see you guys later. Peace.